Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're back to looking at Total War Warhammer 3 after a very long time away from it. A new DLC has been announced with a first trailer and release date being revealed, and a massive blog post has a lot to say about what's to come as well. As expected, the DLC will involve factions that are playable in both Immortal Empires and in the Realms of Chaos campaign, and again, as expected, their Realms of Chaos objectives will be completely removed from the actual Realms of Chaos and Urson, creating a unique story and set of objectives instead. Kinda like what they did for Total War Warhammer 2, where the DLC factions had nothing to do with the Vortex, even in the Vortex campaign. Now, as always, there will be timestamps down below, and if you would like to see more Total War coverage on the channel, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Now, before we dive in, let's take a quick look at the trailer that just dropped. While the trailer itself is beautiful as always, there's only really a few things in the trailer worth highlighting. We catch a glimpse of the Chaos Warshrine over here, which we'll be getting, if I understand it correctly, undivided as well as god-specific variants with this DLC. I suspect this will play a support role primarily, and depending on the god it's dedicated to, we'll see a variety of abilities. Better melee stats in a region around them perhaps when undivided, but improved damage output for Khorne, more Winds of Magic as Tzeentch, regeneration for Nurgle, an aura of frenzy around the unit for Slaanesh. We aren't sure just quite yet, this is all speculation, but I imagine they'll be thematic, and they'll be sort of area of effect buffs one way or another, and they'll likely be passive alongside some active options too, where you have to target specific units or an area instead. Naturally, we're also seeing here the reveal of Azazel, the Prince of Damnation, Captain of the Ecstatic Legions, the faction he'll actually be leading in-game. His model is looking fantastic, as we've come to expect from the folks at Creative Assembly, and the same comment goes for the animations in this trailer too, especially here where he flays open his wings. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, as per the blog post that came alongside this reveal, we know that Azazel is able to fly, and we're able to see it quite clearly here too, and we also know he has access to a variety of Lore of Slaanesh spells like Phantasmagoria and Lash of Slaanesh, and also has access to the Temptator ability that gives him a ward save and damage reflection too, which means throwing him into the fray and triggering this ability might help you clear the enemy out double time. His faction effects are the result of being Slaaneshi, giving him boosted diplomatic relations with the Empire, Kislev, Cathay, and Bretonnia, while all vassals gain immune to psychology and help spread corruption. He's able to seduce units before a battle, again as a result of being a Slaaneshi subfaction, and finally, we see the use of seductive influence and gifts of Slaanesh for Azazel too. Uniquely available to him are the passive Domineering Aura ability, which is not one that we're familiar with just yet as far as my memory serves, and we'll also see a higher budget to seduce units with, as well as a reduced cost to seduce units from the Empire, Bretonnia, Kislev, and Cathay. The reduction of 20% is not insignificant, especially when you consider the increased budget is bumped up by 25% as well, so there should be a lot more seduction going on with Azazel. Now, I imagine he'll have a single quest battle to get his Demon Blade sword as a quest item, though Creative Assembly played it a little fast and loose with quest battles with Warhammer 3, so we'll see. If he does get the Demon Blade, I imagine it'll increase his damage output and add more armor piercing to it as well, though maybe it'll come at the cost of other melee stats. Again, just speculation for now. Opposed to him in this trailer is what I assume to be the Chaos Lord of Khorne, one of the new marked lords joining the game with the DLC. If not that, this could also be the Exalted hero of Khorne instead. Much like the aforementioned Warshrines, each of the gods will be getting a Chaos Lord and an Exalted hero. Nurgle and Tzeentch's lords will be sorcerers, while Khorne and Slaanesh's lords will be combat-oriented, and the marked heroes of Slaanesh and Tzeentch will be sorcerers too, while the Exalted hero of Khorne and Nurgle will be combat-oriented instead as well. We're also seeing a slew of new units being added, as you can see on screen here. Marauders aligned to all of the gods, warriors for where they're missing, chosen and variants across the board, Forsaken for Khorne and Slaanesh, Marauder Horseman variants for all gods, Chaos Knights variants for all gods, and Chaos Chariots for all gods too. And what's more, these units, the Marked Lords, the Warshrine, and the Marked Heroes will all be available to the Warriors of Chaos, as well as the appropriate Chaos God factions too, and the Demon Prince will have access to a few of them himself too, the Demon Prince being the separate, Build-A-Bear faction that was super exciting when the game first released, so it's nice to see that's not been forgotten, and he's going to be getting his own unique touch, grabbing a slice of each individual god's pie, as he did with the other, base game demon units as well. So excited to see which ones they decide to give him and how he'll have access to them and how that whole system will evolve over time. This is a good first test for it. I am glad to see that other factions are able to take advantage of the benefits from this DLC too. Any other approach would have been extremely silly, even though this approach now makes it clear why the Demons of Chaos rosters felt so very empty when the game released. It was so this DLC could actually have some content and a worthwhile price tag for Creative Assembly, but I don't think any of us are surprised by that, right? By the way, we're getting 4 Regiments of Renown added to the game too, and it sounds like they're going to be available for Warriors of Chaos as well as the Demons, depending on their alignment. The Knights of the Brazen Throne are Skull Crushers of Khorne, and it sounds like they'll have a buff to their charge bonus and their anti-infantry capabilities. Ilias Thunderguff is a Chaos Giant aligned to Nurgle, able to fart on his enemies as an active ability, definitely causing damage, and I would not be surprised if it also imbues like poison or something like that, right? It just makes sense. The Sibilant Slaughtercade are Slaanesh-aligned Chaos Chariots that we don't really get much details about, only that they have a wealth of additional attributes, which is really quite vague, so again, time will tell. But finally, we have the Severed Claw, the Aspiring Champions aligned to Tzeentch, with magically imbued halberds that should make them anti-large and armor-piercing with magical damage output as well. There's a separate free DLC that'll be coming alongside all this to add 3 Warriors of Chaos variants for these factions too. Great Weapons for Nurgle, Hell Scourges for Slaanesh, and Halberds for Tzeentch. The unit additions are fantastic, of course, and we'll eventually be looking at the 3 remaining lords being added for the other gods too, but the juiciest parts of today's reveals, in my opinion, have to do with the campaign mechanics, which won't just be added to all these new factions with this latest DLC, but also to the old Warriors of Chaos from the first game's pre-order DLC. Now, we discussed the faction and lord effects of Azazel already, sure, but I'm talking about the Champions campaign centered around breaking the seal on the altar of battle at Zanbai Jin. Now, I do shudder at the mention of collecting your enemy's souls as it's done in the blog post, but I imagine they're taking a very different approach to soul collecting here than they did for the Realms of Chaos campaign. That later on in the blog post, it sounds like you get the required souls simply by doing battle, which tells me it'll be a matter of the usual Total War activities most likely. Specific buildings will add to your soul count, as will doing battles, of course, making certain decisions when taking over a city, making, post-battle decisions, all the usual Total War stuff will add to your soul count, and it'll act as a bit of a resource or currency. Regardless of which of the 4 new sub-factions you play as, it sounds like you're going to be making your way to the city of Zanbai Jin to perform a ritual that will claim the souls trapped in the altar for your patron god. Naturally, a grand finale quest battle is the big finisher to this campaign, I would imagine, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are smaller quest battles along the way to represent what the blog post refers to as forcing open the still healing scars in the world created by Ursun's Roar. Time will reveal more details as always, but there's plenty more to talk about right now, so let's get to it. Souls that are collected in battle can be used as currency to acquire Chaos gifts, either dedicating the collected souls to your patron god or to Chaos Undivided. This screen shows a few of the gift options: the immediate addition of Furies to your recruitment pool, increased supplies, missile resistance, and army abilities during siege battles, buffs to unit stats, experience gain, and replenishment rates, the ability to cause fear if not add other traits, so on and so forth. I'm sure the juicier ones are lower down the screen and we just can't see them in this still, but it looks like you need to unlock them to actually have access to them, and then you have to pay the cost in souls to actually add them into the slots and glean their benefits. Now, I'm not sure how more slots might be unlocked, but this is obviously a more involved process than just picking and choosing the best options. Then again, it's very possible that there are just a few standouts that are the obvious choices and nothing else really matters, but I'm hoping that's not the case. It seems like a very interesting sort of customization mechanic where you can adapt to evolving situations, though of course at the cost of souls. Now, just to touch on the aforementioned recruitment pool for a moment, it seems as though all champions of Chaos factions recruit their troops instantly, and one of the really cool new features is the ability to upgrade your mortal units from lowly Chaos Marauders all the way to Chosen or Chaos Knights or whatever else, and it looks like you can either go God-specific or have them remain undivided. If you follow my Let's Plays, you know I hate disbanding units, partly because I name them and I get attached, and partly because I love the challenge of using Tier 1 troops that have survived from the start of a campaign at the end of the campaign. Folks often mention I should treat disbanding and recruiting higher level units as though they got upgraded and they're the same people, and now with this mechanic, I don't even need to pretend. You're literally promoting your units in a tangible way, and I think this is a very slick addition to the game. I absolutely love this concept. Now, another interesting change for the Champions of Chaos has to do with vassal acquisition. Occupying a dark fortress in a Norscan homeland capital will make you lord over them as your vassals for as long as you control that homeland capital. And if you're wondering what a dark fortress is, these are special regions typically found in the Chaos Wastes and in Norscan homelands where you can build extremely powerful strongholds. We're yet to see exactly what that means, but it sounds promising. The final new mechanic we've seen so far is Path to Glory, another way to spend souls to invest in your Chaos Lords and Chaos Sorcerer Lords to promote them to Demon Princehood. Your heroes and lords are able to devote themselves to one of the 4 Chaos Gods too, marking themselves and gaining appropriate boons, but the way the blog post is written, it sounds like they can be aligned to gods other than your legendary lord. This should make things a bit more interesting when playing as any one faction, but I also wonder how that works from a lore perspective. Azazel fighting side by side with a Chaos Lord of Khorne? No, but perhaps side by side with a friend. I'm curious to see how it all comes together either way. This new DLC is sounding pretty promising, though I can't stress this enough. If you were disappointed by the base game, there is no reason to pre-order it. In fact, even if you love the base game, there's no reason to pre-order it. I'm not a big fan of pre-ordering. I think pre-ordering is a bad idea, but that's a whole other conversation. I know folks have different opinions. We can get into that some other time. This is not the place for it. The reduced price is usually around for a week after release, which is a great initiative by Creative Assembly. I'm glad they do that because it gives you the chance to wait until more information is out there. You can wait until you've seen more gameplay, or perhaps even wait until you've seen a couple of reviews. Now, as always, if the DLC is available on my game store, I will include a link in the description and pinned comment down below because it's what I always do, and ultimately, it's your choice if you want to pre-order or not, if you want to support the channel while buying post-release or not, or just skip it entirely, or whatever other option you might pick, so I leave that choice up to you, of course. Now, let's not forget Immortal Empires is releasing at the same time, so you'll already have 3 whole games worth of content to engage with on a whole new scale, so if you're not in a rush for these guys as they get revealed, it's just worth keeping in mind. That's all I'm saying. I'm cautiously optimistic about Immortal Empires and this DLC. I've been saying for a while now that Immortal Empires and stepping away from the Realms of Chaos campaign are the best things that could happen to the game, and we're getting both at the same time, so it's really hard not to be excited. I'd love to hear your thoughts though on Immortal Empires, on this DLC, on everything revealed today, and on what you want to see on the channel moving forward. Are there any campaigns you're hoping I'll do? I'm obviously leaning Skaven Immortal Empires, but we've talked about a Dwarf or Empire Immortal Empires campaign in the Discord quite a bit too, and of course there's these new factions to consider as well. Either way, I'll keep my eyes on the comments as always, and as a reminder, if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to hit that like button, And if you want more strategy gaming content in general, don't hesitate to subscribe. Also, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.